I live in a manata. It was built by Maasai women like 30 years ago. And so it's all tricked out. Like I have Alexa.
Okay.
I have, Alexa, turn on the lights. It comes on. So it's a cool manata, but it is legit. It's like
a modern manata.
It's not modern. Like the front door, it goes up to here. Like I have to duck all the way down to get in the door.
Really?
Yeah, I can't.
Plus, you've not heard his bullshit. It's like just so what he said, manyara.
Manata. Sorry.
Can't fuck with just around white people. Like if I showed up in your house and the only fruit that was there was a banana, I'd be like, I really want to eat this shit, but I can't eat this.
But meanwhile, it's like Italian white dudes that are all covered in hair.
Yeah,
they look more like monkeys than anybody by far. Those dudes.
Iko Nini. Episode 405. Tukisema like, subscribe, hit the notification button, tell a friend to tell a friend, sindio?
Yeah,
na ilikuwa ni on Monday. Donald Trump alikuwa inaugurated as the 47th president wa the US. So tukaamua wacha to bring an American abaki ametuchanua juu story. So tuko na Darren Collins, ni stand-up comedian na pia ni puppeteer. And Pia, I think maybe can we call you an educationist? Is there such a word? Like someone who's involved in education?
I like the word educationist.
Yeah.
I've never used that one, but
because I don't think
rolls.
it's there. It rolls.
Yeah.
So tuko na Darren, na sasa inamaanisha tuna switch up language, tunaenda kwa Kizungu. Because Darren hauelewi Kiswahili, ndio umeishi tu hapa na hauelewi chochote. You see? Okay. So I was just saying that
if you're slower, I can pull it off.
You've lived around, but I didn't think you understand Swahili. So you've been in Kenya for how long now?
10 years.
10 years, eh?
Yeah.
Living in these posh neighborhoods, eh?
In these
because somehow Kiswahili would have rubbed off on you, eh?
Yeah, it should have rubbed off. I understand a lot. I've been taking classes like the last couple months, so it's getting better. I'm learning how to think in Swahili. My confidence is low, but my understanding is a lot better now.
Because I was watching your set. I came for, what's his name? This guy.
Simeon.
Arthur Simeon's stand-up.
Oh, yeah.
And your whole set about Swahili was some really funny shit.
Like I love it, right?
Thanks you.
I appreciate
funny set. So
I like it that you said the word funny, because so many people will be like, "Oh, I saw your set; it was interesting." I'm like, I don't want to hear the word interesting.
Yeah,
funny is the only word I want to hear.
It was funny. Like it was hilarious. Like
dude.
So that was really good. So when did you start stand-up comedy? Was it when you're still in America, or something you tried out here?
No, I started in USA, in Dallas.
Okay.
I was in Dallas. And I did it for a few years, but it's actually harder in a lot of ways there, because the stage time is hard and really, really late nights. You basically have to live inside of bars. And I was already making money, like good money, as a magician and juggler.
Okay.
And variety performing artist for like families.
Yes.
So it's like the amount of hours it takes.
So you can juggle?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay.
But then when I found Doug doing this with Stand Up Collective here locally, I was like, oh, I can get back into stand-up comedy. So I recently just got back into it like 2 years ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So how did you meet Doug? Oh, you just
I saw like an ad for a show, and I was like, oh, there's a show. I went to it, and I was like, whoa, this is legit. This reminds me of home. This is really, really good.
Okay.
So I immediately was like, how can I be involved?
Because let's go back to juggling. How does someone coordinate like that? Because I think I have very poor coordination. If I throw one thing up, by the time this is that you must have started as a kid, yeah?
I did, but now as an adult, I've taught juggling, and an adult male I can usually teach in like 11 or 12 minutes.
Okay.
If you just follow my guidelines, unless you're like exceptionally terrible.
Which is me.
But yeah, like 95% success rate in less than 15 minutes for adult men. Usually.
Okay. Yeah. So you are saying you act as a magician in America?
Yeah, just like birthday party magic. I was a school assembly performer. I was that goofy guy that they bring in and say, hey, we're going to learn about not being a bully. And so I have like the command of like 500 junior high kids, like 11 or 12-year-olds, like I can make them laugh and teach them something. And that's what I did for years.
Okay. Yeah. And so born and brought up in Texas or
Washington State.
Washington State. Okay.
If you've seen the Twilight movies or the Twilight books about the vampires, that's the exact neighborhood I grew up in.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, of course, this week, biggest headlines.
Yeah.
Trump. Did you vote? Did you go home to
I didn't
vote?
vote this time. No, I've voted in the past, not for Trump. But we can have a moment of silence for my country.
But I
Just
think
bow our heads for a moment.
what I saw yesterday was a lot of happy Americans. I think you people in quotes are happy to have your country back. or some
Yeah,
shit.
a good like 52% are pretty stoked.
Yeah.
But I think like the other percent are pretty upset. Yeah.
So did you watch his speech? Cause,
I didn't. No, I didn't.
Oh, because
I worked all day yesterday and went to sleep.
Okay, I found it because the fact that we do a podcast and a significant percentage of
Yeah, what was your impression?
it was very disrespectful. That's how I found it. Like, because it was like, today is Liberation Day. They're like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
and
no.
the immediate, the outgoing administration.
Yeah, they're
was
sitting
just
right
They're
like-
just
behind
there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
because it even extended to when he was signing the executive orders, and when he got to one, I don't know what it was about. After he signed it, he asked for the mic and said, "I guess Biden couldn't do that."
Wow.
so I found it to be super disrespectful. Then, of course, he said some of the most outrageous shit that he's ever said. He said he's the president who's been tested the most in America's history. How true is that?
I don't know. I don't know that much. I mean, there was an assassination attempt. That's
Okay.
that's a test. So that's like what, top 5 right there. Like not that many guys have been assassinated or attempted.
Okay.
I'm not vouching for Trump right now.
No.
but
I know, even if you voted
I'm just
for
trying to
him,
figure it out.
it's-
Like, well,
no,
so there's that, and then also they've taken him to court a bunch of times, and he somehow survived that. So
okay. He's been tested.
I'm not saying you're right. Like, yeah, he has been tested quite a bit, but he hasn't been tested with like making very, very difficult decisions like past presidents have. It would be unfair to categorize him like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like he didn't have to make decisions that some of our forefathers had to make.
Yes, because I was thinking Abraham Lincoln, and okay, that's how we say it. I don't know how you pronounce it.
It's
and
good.
And also John F. Why? Civil rights and slavery. I don't think there's more test than that in a country where race is such a big issue.
Right. Or like World War II or World War One, or you know, those were huge, massive decisions that they had to really go through. So what does he mean by tested? Like challenged? Yeah. I mean, sure, he's been challenged more than anyone else because he's the least qualified.
Another funny thing he said is his administration will have a remain in Mexico policy. Found that to be super
crazy.
funny. Like just remain.
Like,
remain in Mexico
like the dumbest kid in
policy.
class, they do have to take a lot of tests just to try to see if they can pass them, like just to move them on. So in that way, I think he's been tested a lot because he needs to be tested because he's not verified.
Yeah,
That's good. But what is he doing with Mexico?
Yeah, he said the new
Everything.
policies remain in Mexico. Just remain there. Don't show up.
There's a build. There's a wall. There's a part 2 now.
It's a part 2.
Yeah, there's a part 2 of the wall. And what is it? What's all this fuss about renaming Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America? Like the whole.
Yeah,
He's like a showman. Like it's a ridiculous. Oh no, I did read that he renamed Denali to Mount McKinley.
Yeah.
I like the word Denali a lot more. I forgot that it was called McKinley actually in the past, but
Okay. So
but these are showmen. This is showmanship. This isn't real. This isn't policy.
then what else did he say that I found super interesting? Oh, he said America is going to have a drill, baby drill. Like it's back to drilling. So that's for oil. And this, I don't know what concessions you had for electric vehicles, because he said that's gone.
That
What was
surprises
there?
me. Well, there was a lot of subsidies for buying electric vehicles, which I'm sure Elon Musk really loved. That's
Yeah.
probably how he built this company, was getting government subsidies. So to think that that's going away seems
he
like
said
that would
something
hurt.
like
That would hurt his boy Elon more than
Yeah.
anything, wouldn't it?
Yeah. That's the funny thing. But with Elon, and I say this, I'll sound like Dr. Umar, but I think for Elon, it's more of white America is back. So
Right.
if that means that Tesla won't make as much money as it used to, but the America that he loves is back, he's okay with that. Because even when I had that, I was like, this is going to hurt Elon. Like, if you say that we are going to go back to making cars, we don't care about the mileage and fuel consumption, let's just take it back to that medieval shit. I feel like that hurts Elon.
I think Elon's more concerned with looking cool.
Yeah.
Like his obsession seems to be acceptance by other people, and of course, white people would be it, I suppose.
Yeah. So you didn't see the Elon thing where
I did see that this morning
gesture,
right before I came here. That was insane.
and people are like, from my heart. So you're like, nah, man, that's,
No way.
that's such a mustache.
That's clearly like
Das ist nicht richtig.
what are you doing? Like, it's so awkward. People are trying to make an excuse. Like, no, that was a heartfelt thing. Like, if he can't be both a genius and an idiot at the same time.
Yeah.
So he did it on purpose, right?
That is something you do behind closed doors.
Yeah, not anymore.
And do you also feel like he's a genius? Because this reminds me of there's a Bill Burr joke when he was talking about this guy who died, Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
And he was saying the way he does not understand when people say that Steve was a genius. And it's the same thing I don't understand about Elon. I feel like Elon is such a good businessman, but he's not a genius. But
Right.
What are your 2 cents on that?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Like, he's obviously smart. He does rocket science. Like, that's not me.
Yeah.
But genius is a word that's thrown around so much. Even in creative circles, it's thrown around a lot. People have said, "Oh, Darren, you're a genius." I'm like, I've been around them, and I'm not them. Like, I don't know what you're seeing, but maybe people just use it too lightheartedly. The phrase "genius,"
Yeah.
like that's, I don't know.
And then another thing he talked about is from now henceforth, America recognizes 2 genders. So,
America does.
yes. So what are your 2 cents on that?
What does that even mean? It's just a statement. He's virtue signaling to the right. Like, they're so against virtue signaling on the left, but like they do the same thing. I mean, because that's not a policy. America has 2 genders. Like, what? This is not it's not a political issue. It's a health and scientific and biological issue.
Okay.
Like, what can politics do to influence biology?
I think what he meant by that was America had more than 2 genders. let's also be honest. It's so like the way America is, or at least liberal America. We'd have Darren show up here, and Darren is like, identify as a woman, and I just look at your beard and have to call you she.
Right.
Which it's interesting within the American context, but outside America, it makes it really uncomfortable for the rest of us. Because now, I feel like with liberal America, it reaches a level where the whole world has to view everything through American lenses. And it's a very tricky. So I feel like something like this is even good for Americans, because now you can travel anywhere in the world and know, as much as we identify as this, when I'm within this area, they look at me this way. Not because they hate me, but because just that's how they are. Like, if you have a penis in Africa, you're a man. If you have what? So I feel like that's what he meant. And maybe to stop the child surgeries, because I think there are kids who transition like at 12, 13, which is too early.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's what he meant.
Probably. Yeah. I probably don't perceive sound bites as well as you do, because to me it's like, that's nonsense. So you're saying there's more to it than just that one statement of 2 genders.
Yeah.
Maybe like on federal paperwork, they no longer have like 7 different checkboxes or something. Because I have seen that. I noticed that on some applications I was doing online. I'm like, wait, what's going on? What was I assigned at birth? What? It used to be like check M or F, and now it's like, what were you assigned at birth? What's going on? And then there's a sub question. Okay, now how do you identify? Like, what's going on? So maybe that's going away.
Yeah, I think that's what he meant.
Like,
it's like right now you are female or male. But then he also, of course, said that the thing he likes repeating: no more males in female sports. Makes sense to me. So there are a few things that he said that I was like, yeah. Then we come to the birthright citizenship issue.
That's weird.
Where he says he's going to end that. What do you feel about that?
Doesn't that affect his wives?
Oh shit! Okay.
The first lady, actually.
Yeah. Well, in his previous,
she's Russian.
And all of his previous wives, like not all of them were born in America.
But now he's saying that they're kids. So it's going to affect kids where if 2 illegals have a kid in America, the kid is not American, yes?
Right.
If 1 illegal and 1, is it non-permanent resident have a kid, the kid is not American. So he came up with this calculation.
I mean, the devil's in the details all the time, right? But I mean, I thought birthright citizenship was always a good thing, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, we definitely need more citizens. We need more people working. I don't think there's not too many people.
Yeah, it's part of I think the 14th Amendment. So I hear that for him to actually be able to execute this, he'd have to repeal the 14th Amendment. That's something I heard. Let me see what the 14th Amendment is. But now a few people are saying that might be possible because of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is right now majority Republican, yes? Yeah.
What's your political leanings?
When it comes to?
Like American politics, would you find
American
yourself
politics, I'd be more liberal than conservative, but I have a few conservative views. Like for example, the gender thing. I always feel that kids should not making drag queens read for kids. I feel like it's too early. I discovered sex much later in life. You know, like I always give the example on the podcast. Like when I was 11 years old, there's this girl. She was 12, and she tried to draw. Like on my table, like she drew a very huge dick, and I didn't know. I was there, like we are kids.
Oh, really?
That like at 11. Then when I was 12, just woke up a beast. I wanted her to draw more, you know. But now it was too late. So when I look at that kid who didn't know what this other girl was drawing, and then I look at the kid who became. That's why I feel like 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds. It's too early to teach them about sex. Wait for that time when they're curious about sex and then teach them about sex. But then I also feel like you can influence kids to think they're bisexual and what
Absolutely.
when they're not. So that's why I feel like when it comes to that, sexual issues, I feel I'm more conservative. But when it comes to, I'd want birthright citizenship to stick there. Because even some of our biggest supporters are Iko Nini. Kenyans based in America. I don't think this podcast would be what it is without Kenyans in America. So I would not want them to be deported or their kids to not have citizenship because of it. Yeah. So it's 50-50. Like I think I'm more liberal than conservative, but I have a few conservative views. Yeah.
I think I'm probably on the same page. Like a lot of that, especially with like the sexual stuff. I don't understand how anyone could justify making those big decisions. I mean, your frontal lobe is still developing until your early 20s. There's so certainly like illicit drugs or like even marijuana. Like you probably stay away from it until you're 22, 23, 24, whatever. But to think that you could put them on like hormone drugs before that actually change the way the brain develops or whatever, that seems completely counterintuitive to me. Like that's not the right way to go. But I think teaching kids about sex in general, there's a way to do it at very early ages and just bring in more information as time goes. But there's almost it can't be too early.
Okay. But you understand the drag queen maybe showing up with his balls hanging out. Okay,
that's a completely different thing, right?
Yeah. Like you can teach them without the whole drag queen.
Yeah. There's like appropriateness, and again, the devil's in the details. Like Trump speaks in sound bites, so it's hard to tell. Like for me, like what I don't get what he's trying to say. I don't know what he's dog whistling to.
Yeah,
necessarily.
So I think amendment. I was trying to look for the 14th Amendment, but basically the 14th Amendment is like if you're born within the borders of America, you are an American citizen.
You're grandfathered in. You get to be there.
Yeah, so that's like one of the things that he's trying to change. And of course, there's going to be the Department of Government Efficiency, if that means anything. But now, one of the things that stood out was the Clintons and Obama. They were booed at the inauguration.
They were booed?
Yeah. Is that American? Because I feel like America is, I think it's what you said. Like it's reached a level where there's a lot of hate. Like the country is so divided, liberals and, because I don't think, but last time Trump did show up, at the inauguration, at Biden's inauguration.
Oh, he didn't show up at all?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, it's so inappropriate. Like it's unnecessary to have like it's a football match at the inauguration, like booing and cheering for stuff.
Yeah.
It's like he's ushered in a immature populace. Like he's made it very popular to be immature and degrading and impolite. Like you can have very different opinions without booing people.
Yeah.
Like it's
that was.
it just seems all very immature, and I'm always surprised when people look up to that guy.
Okay, I understand. I think when you have money, because that's when we look at the Kenyan side, we always look at it that way. Like when you have money, people just respect you. I think there's that.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be that way, but yeah. But now, what are your views on Kenya trying to regulate social media and using America as an example?
They're trying to regulate social media in what way?
Basically, we've hurt our president's feelings. You've been seeing
I've seen that, but there's actual attempts to do some regulation of what you can and can't do.
Yeah. Like yesterday, there's this the CS for IT and digital economy. He was like, we either use it responsibly or the government will shut it.
That's terrible. Because whose definition of responsible? No criticism. That's basically what it means, right?
Yeah.
Don't criticize.
Don't hurt the president's feelings.
Yeah, that's not good at all. I think that's a terrible idea. The whole idea that if you don't like the speech, then you just create more of the opposite speech. Like if you don't like what someone's saying, it's not about shutting them down. It's about coming up with better arguments on the other side. So you will not be mocked if there's nothing to mock you for.
Yeah.
It's like I've had people who like say that they're treating me like a child. It's like, well, an adult can't be treated like a child. So the way you're acting is making it possible for someone to even do that, because a grown, mature person, it's really, you can't really actually get away with treating them like a child. It doesn't work because they're above reproach. They are an adult. And so the idea that the way to stop being criticized is to not do things that can be criticized. Okay. If you carry yourself with integrity, honor, and, in good faith, it ain't going to be there.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so to attack it by shutting it down, no, man. The way you attack it is you deal with the criticism.
And also, like, I feel like American presidents, if there are people who've been mocked by Americans, American presidents, would you say that Americans respect presidents? Because I feel like, would you say that? And I'm putting respect in quotes, because that's what the president is complaining about. He's like, you people don't respect me enough.
I mean, they just booed Clinton's at the inauguration. So that's a thing.
Yeah.
But that would never make Clinton say, you're not allowed to do that. He would. That's not what Clinton would do. Yeah. I don't think any of the presidents would shut down an American's right to shout and say, you're doing a bad job or we don't like you. So I feel that feels like the act of someone who's insecure.
Okay.
Right? Like if a government is shutting down speech, that feels like they're insecure. And that's a red flag. Like, why do we have an insecure government?
Okay, so now let's go back to America. Yeah? By going back is now you traveling to Kenya. So the first time you traveled to Kenya, what was the plan? Are you a tourist? Were you coming to work?
No, I was just checking it out. I wanted to see. I had a concept in mind for doing an HIV and AIDS education program, and I didn't really specify Kenya. I just came here because I was invited.
Okay.
And so it was like a research thing when I first came. But I started to really love it. I started to really, really enjoy the people and the places and everything. And so I think it happens to a lot of Americans. They come out here and they go, oh, I don't want to leave. I met some guys today that were supposed to fly out tonight, and they're looking for any excuse to stay longer because they like it so much.
Okay. And what do you love most? The weather? Or because I know America's weather is bipolar. I mean, that shit changes so fast.
Yeah, the weather is pretty, especially Nairobi. This is a sweet spot. This is really good. People, in fact, it's so good that Nairobians are the biggest complainers of anyone I've ever met in the world, because their band of comfort is like so narrow. It's too hot. It's too cold. Yeah. Because it's so comfortable all the time. When it gets outside of that, they're like, oh, it's awful. But that's an indication of how good it is. Yeah. It's almost always perfect.
Yeah, like 29 degrees, you're losing our shit.
Right. It's amazing.
It's too hot.
And the crazy thing is that Americans can't even fathom that we ever get cold. And I'm like, it gets cold here. It gets really, really cold.
Yeah.
Even Texas, like, gets freezing rain. I'll bet the Kenyan friends that live in Texas have never been more cold in their life than they have in Texas. But we think of that as a hot state.
Yeah.
And also, it's hotter there than it ever gets here. There's times when it's like over 40 for 100 days in a row in Texas.
Yeah.
And so that's schizophrenic. We have it really good. So that's one thing for sure.
Okay. So you're just planning like maybe to stay for a few weeks?
So I started first I was researching for like half a year.
Okay.
And then once I got the project together, I decided to come back to like do this project. It was with the Rotary Club of Nairobi and the Rotary Club of in DeSoto near Dallas. And it was like a year-long project. But it went so well, they're like, "Do you guys want to keep the project going?" So we did.
Okay. The first neighborhood you lived in?
First neighborhood I lived in was just for a little bit in Ngong and then Kasarian. And then when I got my own place, that was with other Kenyan families.
Okay.
When I got my own place, it was in Pangani.
Oh, okay. Hey, you lived in some interesting areas because I expected you to say Lavington, Kileleshwa.
No, dude.
DeSoto.
No, I'm a blue collar guy. Like my dad was a factory worker.
Okay.
And so it's Kenyan dudes don't get it because like, oh, when my dad met my mom, he worked in a gold mine. And like, oh, he owned a gold mine? I'm like, no. He had a shovel and he was shoveling, trenches inside the mine. We come from that sort of background. And so, So now I actually have a place out near Maasai Lodge.
Okay.
And so it's on the edge of the national park. So I'm just like completely surrounded by animals. And I live in a manata. It was built by Maasai women like 30 years ago. And so it's all tricked out. Like I have Alexa.
Okay.
I have, Alexa, turn on the lights. It comes on. So it's a cool manata, but it is legit. It's like
It's a modern manera.
It's not modern. Like the front door, it goes up to here. I have to duck all the way down to get in the door.
Really?
Yeah, I can't.
Plus,
stand
you've
up
not had his bullshit. It's like just so what he said, Manyara.
Manata.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. He was having fun with that.
Gotta hit the hard T. Manata.
Sounds like a man cave to me.
Bingo.
Okay.
Yeah, like you have
Masai
to.
Lodge. Okay. How far is Masai Lodge?
Maasai Lodge from here? Well, on a Piki, it's 45 minutes from door to door, probably right now.
Yeah.
From
Is it
South
close
Sea.
to Rongai or something?
Yeah, it's Maasai Lodge stage. It's the first stage in Rungai. But then you go along the park.
Oh.
Okay. So you're surrounded by which animals?
All of the ones in the park. Yeah.
And there's some shit separating you. A lion can
No,
grab
on the
you.
south side of the park, there's no walls.
So a lion can just grab you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, it's
You have
some real-
pictures of that.
Yeah, I hear lions all the time.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, someone caught a leopard yesterday. I saw a picture of one in the cage. I've got like 11-foot python on my front door. Like,
Oh, shit, that would be the first. Like I fear snakes. Like I always say, I have an irrational fear of snakes. If I found
mine
an
is
11,
spiders. I have a rational fear of spiders.
funny enough, I don't care about a spider.
Yeah.
Like a spider would not scare me. An 11-foot snake, I'm shitting myself. Like I'm trying to leave the next second. I'd never be able to sleep again. Like
Oh, really? Oh, it's that bad? Yeah. Yeah, it's tricky because like I grew up in the forest in my hometown, so I'm sort of used to being out in nature or whatever. But the animals don't scare me because none of them actually want to eat me. Like 0 of them actually want to eat a human. And so only if they're scared are they going to do anything. But the forest will kind of tell you, people are like, aren't you scared? And like, well, the animals that are prey, they make noises when there's predators around. So if it's totally silent, it's no problem.
Okay.
But if the bush babies are going off and the hyrax are going off, it's like, whoa. And that's when I found the snake, because they were both alarming. I was like, why are they sounding an alarm? What is going on? And I shine a light on the critters and watch their eye line. I'm like, there's the snake. That's what they're looking at. And so you just chase it. Chase it
Like
away.
bad boy.
shit. And was it full or it was just hungry?
He was hungry. He was looking for those
shit.
critters. Yeah, for sure. We just hit it with brooms and,
And the manata has space. Does it have space where a snake can just
Yes.
crawl in and come into the house?
Yeah, it probably could.
Shit.
That one's a little too thick to get in. I've seen some smaller snakes in there, but like maybe one every 2 years. Like a little one will get in. I'll just, if it's a rat snake or something, I just pick it up and take it outside.
Rattlesnake.
Not rattle. Like a
Okay.
rat snake.
Oh, rat.
Yeah, I think that's what they call it. Brown house snake. I don't know what they call them here.
Oh. Common ones.
That brown
common.
house.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
brown house snake. I think that's what it's called. So there's a time I'm doing the live. I'm in Colorado, and that shit just passed. And I, as I told you, I have an irrational fear of snakes.
Yeah.
So the only thing that saved me is the weather in America is just messed up. So the sun is shining, and everything is well. So I'm outside with my laptop, and then the next thing, it starts like drizzling. So I'm like, shit, let me go inside the house. So when I'm inside the house, someone tells me like, look at where you are seated. Then I see there's a snake crawling. And they're like, I'm from Africa, the jungle. I've never encountered a snake. Now a snake wants to bite me in America. That would be some fucked up shit.
That would be
For an
crazy.
African,
You go get bit by a mosquito and get a disease, get bit by a snake. And be like,
Yeah, so that was,
the jungle.
And
Is there a door?
a what?
Does your man cave have a door?
A dog?
Door. A
Door.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's,
Yeah, but it's not.
Because the way you
saying, like,
described
short.
how you...
Yeah, so the door is like that low, and so, but it's still like there's lots of openings all around. You know, there's not. I have one window. There's no glass. It's just like chicken wire and coffee wire, so critters can slide in that way.
okay. And so now you're saying that a leopard was caught.
Yeah, I saw a picture on the neighborhood group this morning.
And if you are just cool, like shit.
Yeah,
It's a normal Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, it's a normal thing.
Shit.
You had a visitor.
Yeah. I think, I don't know if you've noticed, because you've lived in Kenya long enough, you've noticed that for Kenyans, it's animals there, humans here.
Yeah, it took
think
me a
it's
while
all
to
black
figure it out because
Yeah.
because everyone acts like an expert. Like, oh, you're in danger. You should be careful. I'm like, have you ever encountered one? No, but I'm Kenyan. It's like you're a visitor. What would you know? And I'm like, you guys do not hang out with animals at all.
Yeah.
So when they try to give advice to me about what I should be afraid of or what I should do, I'm like, you don't know. Even people who are born in upcountry, they still keep them out of the village. Like it's not really. They don't really get in.
I think a lot of our ancestors must have been grabbed, and then that
Right?
shit is just
Well,
that shit is just passed from generation to generation.
I think it's just this. It's just that if an animal doesn't make you money, Kenyan doesn't want anything to do with it. So if it's not a goat, if it's not a chicken, it's not a cow, or it's not a lamb, it's something that might eat those things. So I need all of those animals out because my animals are prey. And so, yeah, it makes sense, like financial sense to keep.
And I also think we are more also worried about them just eating us. Like a lion does not care that I have a podcast.
Right. So what I heard about lions is that they will eat what their parents trained them to eat and hunt. And most of them have around here, as far as we know, haven't actually trained them to eat humans. So they go after your dogs and cats. Like you see that along the edge of the park. But for humans, maybe if there's like a huge drought and they're starving, but usually there's a zebra. I mean, what would you want? Would you rather eat me or a zebra?
I think for a lion, this is a delicacy. This is some sushi shit. This is
right?
some
It's like
caviar.
Yeah.
It's like, and once they grab humans because of our soft skins, I think they'd enjoy
It's on
it.
the menu.
But I don't think they want like cologne and a leather belt. They don't. They don't want to eat jeans.
Yeah, I think there's also that, but it's still like.
Anyway, I like it. I like being around them. I like nature. I enjoy that.
Yeah, I think even like that's one of the things I was saying. Like one of the sad things about Kenya, I feel, is like we've disrespected nature so much. I was telling the story of like traveling. Last year was my second time in America, but it's the time that I really saw that America has more trees than Kenya.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense to me because I've been taught to believe that for there to be a city, all the trees have to disappear.
Right.
So you're there and you're seeing all these trees and all these buildings, and you're there like this can coexist,
Yeah, it can.
So I feel like that's the one sad thing that I hate. Like if I'm not in a country, there's no nature. Basically, Nairobi is just a concrete jungle.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I don't like.
It's hard to watch sometimes.
Yeah.
Because you'll see that like someone has decided to put like electricity lines on both sides of the roads. So they have to cut down trees on both sides of the roads. Like, no, put them all, at least do something to preserve half of the trees on the street. That's hard to watch. And also, but what's also kind of sad is some of the most beautiful parts of Kenya are like where the tea plantations are.
Yeah.
And they're like dead. There's no birds, there's no insect because they have so much insecticide. It's like it's visually pretty, but once you hang out there, it's like this is dead. There's no life. That's kind of hard to watch.
And this is another coincidence. Like, hey, people need to check out episode, I think it's 403. I was here with a Kenyan. Him now he's the opposite. When you're moving to Kenya, he was moving to America. So he calls himself Mkenya Americani. And I told him when we were talking about beauty in Kenya, I talked about the tea plantations. and then you talked about the same thing. Because when you're there, it's so beautiful. But now for me, I think it's because I'm so used to how ugly Nairobi is. When I'm there, I don't even notice that there are no birds. There are no, I just see the beauty. But yeah, that's interesting for you to say that you also see the beauty.
Plus, also another danger is we are, we've started living in places we can cultivate. And then places, I think we were supposed to develop the north and maybe live there. And then where actually we can grow shit, we're just, doing away with the plants and planting buildings. So I think that's one danger that's going to hurt us.
Yeah. And so having lived in Kenya all this time, what's the most African shit you've seen? Like this can only happen in Africa, because there's a lot of shit I see even for podcasters. There's this guy, the No Jumper podcast. You know about it? He's an American. He's the guy who shares his wife with other dudes, and I'm like, that's some white people shit. Like, that's some American shit. Like, that's not happening in Kenya. So what's the most African shit you've seen? Although the Maasais share their wives, but
Yeah, I think I remember there's a podcaster who came here. It was Jim Brewer, the comedian, and I was trying to get a hold of him. Like, I wanted to see him. Yeah. And I couldn't. I said, hey, come out. We'll slaughter a goat. And all the people on his comment section were like, that's disgusting. How could you do such a thing? Why would you, I'm like, it's a celebration. Like, who celebrates like that? I'm like, every American on 4th of July, everyone has a barbecue. Like, just because we're going to kill it on site doesn't make it any difference than any other celebration anywhere in the world. But it is a little more African, right? To kill it right there in front of the fire and then drink the blood right there. That's like somehow too difficult for most Americans, even though they're doing the same thing. It's just like down the block, it's being butchered or whatever. But that's very African, I think. If you're going to say African in those terms, like watching a good goat slaughter and drinking the blood like right out of the neck, or just like fresh. I've done that a lot. I mean, a lot, half a dozen times.
And also, do you feel like our food is, in quotes, fresher?
Yeah,
I feel like,
dude, I think all the food here is better.
Yeah,
honestly, like every bit of chicken I've ever had here is better than every chicken I've had in the U.S. in the last 20 years, for sure. It tastes so much better.
Yeah,
and the fruits and vegetables are better too. The bananas are better. The avocados are better. Just on down the line, like the fresh food here is just so much better.
Okay,
I'm really happy about that.
And talking of bananas, I remember joking, like I was saying that. White people fucked up the banana for me. I can never eat a banana next to a white person. People started that bullshit. Like, I was like, nah, I'm not. Give me a fucking avocado.
Or cut the banana into
because I'll enjoy. I love a banana, but I can't enjoy
so why?
it next to a white person.
Why is it?
So that racist shit, that like.
So that's a weird one. I was sort of unaware of it, somehow blissfully unaware. I think it's a European white thing to have that stereotype. Because we made our very first educational video we made. We wanted a big bunch of bananas to fall on one of the characters, and for some reason or another, like we had a little red monkey, he's really cute, and then he had a Kenyan doctor, and the bananas fell, and it fell on the doctor, and no one thought anything of it. But then people started watching it, like, what kind of racist shit is this? And I was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh, there's a stereotype about that. No, that's just coincidence. It was going to be on one, but having an African doctor being covered in bananas, it just didn't even cross the mind that was a stereotype, because I think it comes more from Europe than it does from America.
Oh, okay.
I think it had something to do with football players.
Even the head
Like
stadiums.
We're not really footballers.
Especially in Spain. Spain, they use bananas a lot.
You'd just be there taking your free kick. A banana comes flying in. Even one of the most iconic messages, like images, was there's this footballer. His name is
Dani Alves.
No, the black guy from back in the days, Liverpool, John Barnes.
Yeah.
So there's where someone threw a banana, but because he's really good, he just started dribbling it and just.
Nice.
Like, so the image in Akwaga Kami.
Okay.
Like when he's,
Dani Alves, of course, is a Brazilian. He was playing for Barcelona. He ate it.
He ate it and then took the corner. So that's like one of the things that I can't fuck with just around white people. Like, if I showed up in your house and the only fruit that was there was a banana, I'd be like, I really want to eat this shit, but I can't eat this.
But meanwhile, it's like Italian white dudes that are all covered in hair.
Yeah.
They look more like monkeys than anybody by far. Those dudes.
Yeah.
That stereotype never got to me when I was growing up, but now I'm more aware of it for sure.
Because I think in America it's the watermelon.
Right.
Yeah, it's the
That's the
watermelon.
fruit of choice for
watermelon.
Americans.
You won't find me in Texas also with the watermelon. Because in Kenya, like the watermelon is there, but it's not a fruit I'd say Kenyans love. Would you say like we don't love it? We love bananas.
No,
more.
we've become accustomed to, like, growing up. I don't think watermelons were, farmed as much as they are now. But every corner you find them.
Yeah. So which foods can you, the white man, not eat anywhere in the world? Because I think,
Dude, we have a lot of privilege.
yeah.
I mean, if you would have said white woman, maybe, but white man, like what? What
White
do we have
woman?
to fear?
Which food is that?
No,
I don't
know.
think.
I'm just saying, in terms of privileges, like you just named the guy who has the least,
Yeah.
or has the least, has the most privileges. I don't know. Is there a stereotype for what white dudes eat? I don't know. I can't think of anything.
I think the only thing that they say is you don't season your food.
Oh man,
Yeah, so there's always that stereotype.
that's a legit.
I don't know.
That's a legit concern for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. But now I'm always like, but this KFC shit, that's your shit, and it tastes
It is
really
pretty
good.
good. Yeah, there's a lot of seasonings, secret ones.
Yeah.
It's a secret recipe. I used to work for KFC when I was a kid. I was delivery. I delivered chicken.
Oh, okay. And that's another thing that I always mention, that one of the things we learn about like the American society from the outside is you learn about money early.
Depends on what your background is. I did not at all.
Okay.
But like if you have, I don't know. It just depends on your family.
Yeah.
It really does. Now, the big difference is though, is that we get jobs right away. Like at age 15, we're working summer jobs. By the time I was 16, I had 3 jobs. I was a DJ at the skating rink. I worked at the movie theater and I delivered chicken. And then eventually I got like a job at a photocopy place or something like that. And I talked to my Kenyan friends, like none of them were employed as teenagers.
Yeah.
So that was a big difference. Now, well, I guess I could go back on that. My mom started charging me rent at age 16. She's like, you're old enough now. You just need to pay something every month.
Okay.
Just get used to the fact that this is what life is like. And so, I was paying rent when I was 16.
That's what I'm saying. Like you learn about money early, because a lot of us start learning about money at 24. At 24, that's when we start getting our first bills and what. That's why like we learn so late, and you find people like in their 40s are still doing dumb shit.
But don't you feel like that also depends on the culture you come from within Kenya? I mean, there's different perspectives on money from different tribal perspectives, don't you think?
No, there's the tribal perspective, but the tribal perspective is there's, as much as Kenyans will be like, Kikuyus love money, yes?
Right.
But I don't think there's a Kikuyu kid working at 16. Like
Right.
it's not a, what can I say? It's not something normal. Like
Is he
you
being
find a
verbally
kid
taught
working at
lessons?
16, most probably they've quit school. But if there's a kid at school, it's very hard for you to find like, I think that's why the politicians call people, my kids. And they're wondering, why are you calling an adult my kid? It's because the adult is 22 and has never worked a day in their life.
I think that's probably the thing about Kenyan culture that makes me the most probably sad, I suppose, if I was to be sad about anything.
Yeah.
It's the tradition of sending kids away to boarding school.
Yeah.
I think the best thing of my life is a neighborhood school. I knew the same kids since I was a kid, since I was like 5 years old till when we were 18 years old. And I always went home to see my parents.
Yeah.
And some guys didn't have, 2 parents. Maybe they had 1 parent or whatever, but they would congregate over at someone else's house after school. We interacted with the people who loved us a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas here it's like, you may not even know your brother and sister if you're off by a certain number because they're going to separate schools. Like our stereotype of African culture, Kenyan culture was always like unity. When I got here, I was like, whoa, I don't see that sense. There is certainly a sense of unity that is wonderful, but in the family unit, it's more like a ideological unity and not an actual like I know my dad really well.
Yes.
My mom and I are super close, and me and my brother and sister. It happens in maybe the more affluent areas where they went to neighborhood schools, but outside of that, it's kind of sad to see.
Yeah, it's sad to see. Like it's one of the things I've said here on the podcast, that I don't want my kid to go boarding school. But I always say that as a Kenyan, to say that it's also coming from a point of privilege.
Right.
Understand, where I can, in quotes, afford to live with my kid. But the other kids, where you find like the house that they live in, there's no electricity, there's no nothing. So when they go to boarding school, now they have access to all these things that
Right.
they don't necessarily have at home. But now delivering chicken, did you deliver in black neighborhoods?
Yeah. Well, we didn't have a lot of black neighborhoods where I grew up. Actually,
Yeah.
there was maybe 3 black people in the whole town. It was like 17,000 people. And I remember my brother dated the only black girl that lived in town. Okay. So our family didn't really have any like racism tendencies that I can tell. Maybe in retrospect, 30 years later, I can go, maybe there was a slight tendency.
Yeah.
But it was never modeled for us. Yeah.
Okay. Because now I know like how weird it would be to be like this white delivery kid with this like all this chicken knocking out.
Chicken's delicious, man.
Yeah. Even like if you're part of DoorDash and you go to deliver chicken, watermelon, and then I think there's grape juice and it's a black house. So there's all that shit. But now when the reason I was asking you about the most African shit you've seen is there's this story I saw, and I was even like, I don't even think this is normal in America, because this was in Brazil. So there was a story that the son of Brazilian OnlyFans star who films his mom X-rated content explains why he never gets aroused. Like, what the fuck?
Well, this is what made you ask me this question?
Yeah, I was asking because white people do some weird shit. So I was like,
That's Brazilian.
but this is Brazilian.
That's
but I
brown.
was still like,
See, listen, the one thing white and black people have in common is we're against the Browns. The Browns, the Browns do some really. No, I don't know. I've never heard of such a thing. That sounds like a family problem again.
Yeah, that's nasty. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like no one wants to see that.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
In
So
fact,
don't use your mom though.
Dude, I used to ruin photos, group photos. Right before they take the picture, I go, think of your parents having sex. And everyone goes, oh, like that. Like, click. Because no one wants to think of that at all, let alone like make it part of your job.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, we all want to
What kind of newsfeed are you on that you're getting Brazilian porn?
Yes, his algorithm is fucked.
yeah, he just knows that this dude is a podcaster. He needs shit to talk about. But we didn't talk about the family. So you're from a family of like how many kids?
5 kids.
Oh, 5 kids. You're there? What born?
Oh, dude, I'm last only.
Oh.
I'm an only child and a last born because they were all so much older. So they all moved out by the time I was a kid.
Oh, okay. What's
So-
the gap like between you and?
18 years between the oldest and me.
Shit.
Okay. So your parents.
Yeah, my parents, yeah, in the 80s for sure. Dad died a couple of years ago, but mom's birthday was yesterday. And yeah, they thought they couldn't have, the doctor said to my mom, you're no longer able to have children after their third child. So that they adopted a child. And then 8 years later, I showed up.
Oh, okay.
And then he ran away from home when I was like 8. And
The adopted kid?
Yeah.
Why?
I think that probably he was a troubled kid. He was always trouble. He went to prison for like 14 years, like maximum security prison. And so it's probably related to being adopted. I think because he was adopted kind of late. And I think he wasn't well taken care of as a tiny child, like in the important times. Yeah. So he always had like a problem. But now he's good.
Oh, he's good
He
now.
recovered. Yeah, totally.
Okay. And you're tight now?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
That's
we're
good.
close.
That's good. Yeah, because when you talked about maximum security, I was like, shit.
Yeah, dude. Big. Yeah. He went to Pelican Bay in California, like the Supermax prison that was built.
shit.
In the
That Denzel
90s.
shit.
That
Yeah.
Denzel shit.
That was the legit thing. I used to visit him there. Talk about a guy white turns even whiter. Like when he doesn't see sun for years, like they don't let him outside.
It's a bright dude.
His skin was like translucent,
Yeah.
like a ghost. Yeah.
Because like you had like the way he said that Denzel shit. You know why we say that?
Yeah.
Do you know,
Which movie is it?
Training.
Day.
Training Day.
Yeah. 23 hours lockdown.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
You've
it's
been playing
20 hours.
In the
basketball.
SHU, the security housing unit, the SHU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
23 hours lockdown.
Oh, hey, shoot,
You'll be playing basketball in Pelican Bay. When
Yeah.
I'm
That's
That's
finished
the one.
with you.
I used to visit Pelican Bay to go
okay.
visit him.
Sure, all that,
Program, nigga.
all that 23 hours shit
And
is
dude,
true.
my dad brought a gun because it's a gun culture. Dad had a gun in the car, so we pull up to Pelican Bay, and they're like searching. They're like, "Do you have any weapons?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I do." I'm like, "Sir, you can't you can bring a weapon
In
to
a
the Pelican
jail,
Bay.
maximum.
And he's like, oh yeah, okay. And so he went to the nearest petrol station and went to the cashier and was like, hey, can I put the gun under your counter? Like, I got to go to the prison. And they're like, yeah, it's okay. Like that would never happen in Kenya.
So he stayed in Pelican Bay for how long?
My brother?
Yeah.
I think 8 years there. He was in Folsom for a couple of years as well. And then Tehachapi as well in California.
What was the crime?
So yeah, it was interesting. He was probably like 18 or something. And they got caught with cocaine somewhere in Los Angeles.
Okay.
They put him and his buddy in the back of an unmarked car, which means it had no protection. And so his buddy in the handcuffs reached back and kicked the driver cop in the back of the head. So suddenly now it's an assault with a deadly weapon towards a police officer at a young age. So now you're a young violent offender, which is a bad category to be in. So then he's in LA County, he has to fit in. I'm sure he joined like a gang or something.
Okay.
And the gang had initiation. He probably had to hurt somebody else. And so it's now it's okay. Your classification is young violent offender. And from there. So it started with drugs, just cocaine.
America is such an interesting place. Like the extremes of this, the land of the free, but with the most incarcerated
Most
people.
incarcerated of all.
Yeah. the
Privatizing
world.
prison was the worst thing ever. Give a financial incentive to have more prisoners.
Yeah. And it's in every state?
I don't know that for a fact, but it's federally legal, I suppose. So anyone probably could.
Okay. Have you visited any of the Kenyan prisons?
Inside the prison itself, no. I've been outside of a couple of police stations and then seen the people walking through, but no. I'm surprised. Some of my crew's been to Langata a couple times, but I don't think I never went in.
Oh, okay. And the experience with the police, how has it been? 'Cause,
Dude, I got arrested yesterday.
yeah, for what?
Yeah, so running a red light, except it was a very interesting situation where the first time ever I was not angry at the cop because we both were telling the truth. I pulled into an intersection with like the countdowns, -5, -4, with the green. I was green at 3 in the middle of the intersection, turning. But a matatu jumped his line at his red light and went in front of me. So by the time the matatu went around, it's a fully red light and I have to turn because I'm blocking traffic. But the cop is standing in such a place where he doesn't see me until after the matatu goes. So he saw me go through a red light, but I went through a green and finished on red because of the matatu. So that's where the conflict came up.
So you had to bribe your way out? Or?
My first bribe in 10 years. Yeah. I've always gotten out without paying a bribe. But in this situation, I was like, because usually they're lying or they're wrong or they're just messing with you.
Yeah.
I know what he saw. And I said, sir, you're telling the truth, but so am I. And so at that point, I was like, you know what, this will be faster.
Okay.
Because even a CCTV is going to show me on the green unless they get it from the other angle.
Yes.
So I was like, this is not worth it.
But today on a bike or something?
We have a full-time bike guy on our team.
Okay.
So he just ferries us all around all day long. So we all have our own helmets. It's the only way to do it, right?
Because I saw the helmet, couldn't see the bike.
Right. Yeah. During
Maybe
COVID,
you were walking around with it.
Yeah. I did. Like, keep it with me. I'd rather,
Okay. So you gave Mzungu bribe?
Oh, dude, it's a total Mzungu. I didn't even think of negotiating. I was just like, let's get out of here. So it was 2,000. I should not have given 2,000, but
yeah, that's
500 would have been fine.
Yeah, 200.
But he was drunk, and so it was like
Really?
he went from reasonable to unreasonable pretty fast.
Oh, the
and
cop.
so I was like, yeah. So I was like, I shouldn't play with this. This is not a time for me to try to play any angles.
Yes.
It's just a time to come to agreement and get out of here.
Okay.
Because he was not.
And now the Kenya comedy scene.
Oh, it's so great.
Yeah. How has it been?
It's been really wonderful to watch. Like the rate of it's been growing.
Yeah.
For the audiences and for the number of comedians is pretty cool. And the stage time that Doug gives us is great.
Yeah.
The open mic system is really fair. It's not overloaded with people, so everyone gets stage time.
Okay.
And the appreciation from the audience to have it at all is great. But then their sense of humor is really great because I think most of our audiences are familiar with like watching Netflix. And so for English speaking stand-up comedy, like everyone does like maybe 5% Swahili.
Yes.
I would say, even me, I guess.
Yeah.
if you count my material. So that's pretty cool. And I think it's just so much more fun than watching the old Churchill stuff. Like that was cute, I suppose. And definitely funny. People found it funny, but it wasn't as thinking, I suppose. It's fun to watch audiences who don't get it and then eventually do, because they've never watched jokes structured like that before. They're expecting like characters playing out tribal stereotypes or whatever, or just playing out skits. So they call it, oh, is that thinking comedy? It's like, it's a thinking comedy. But everybody comes around to it once they get used to it. I mean, so far, I've had people who like, I didn't get it the first 2 times, but the third time I was like, oh, I see what they're doing. And they fall into the rhythm. The number of open mics is great.
Yeah.
I think is really nice. That the paid shows are pretty funny. And at Stand Up Collective, the room really goes sometimes. How many shows have you been to?
A lot.
Really?
A lot. Yeah. Like even when it comes to stand-up collective comedians, we've had close to 10
on here.
Yeah.
So so what do you think? What do you think of that room?
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. Because I think because I discovered stand-up collective by accident. It was, I think, the algorithm for my wife. She's the one who was watching.
Okay.
So she watched Amandeep, and then after Amandeep came Thai.
Yeah. I saw Amandeep and then Kisi and Ghani and then Thai.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when that happened, like this happens in Kenya, they now went looking for it. So so I've been to a few shows, and they are pretty good.
I think last Wednesday was one of the most interesting nights of comedy I've ever seen, because it was the open mic and 3 comics did material about the abductions. And it was like, this is cathartic for the audience. Yeah. It's clever. It's funny without mocking really anyone. And it's like, is this happening anywhere else in the world? Where like serious rights violations are occurring, or people's lives are being changed for art. And now there's commentary that week happening live on stage in front of people. Which
comedians?
Ty did a bit.
Okay.
Marumba did a bit. And I can't remember. Timothy tried something. His didn't fly as hard. But Ty's was great. And Marumba's, the audience wasn't laughing as hard as I was, but it was so good.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I think even with the Kenyan audience, as you said, we came from Churchill, and Churchill was very, in quotes, safe comedy.
Yeah.
So it was more of, I need the politicians, so I can never joke about the politicians. And like, if you can't joke about current events, you deny yourself so much material, like, because I think he did not want to offend anyone. And I feel like with comedy, there has to be you're always bordering on offensive, because I always feel like funny comedy is comedy based on real events or the truth or something.
What year was Churchill?
Yeah.
What year was Churchill starting?
Churchill
2008.
2008, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Brent
Oh, the show.
Oh,
The
8?
show, yeah. Went for like 3 seasons.
Not 3 seasons. No, over 10 seasons. And that shit was here till COVID.
Yeah, okay.
After COVID is when it collapsed, like, in quotes, and it's still back.
Yeah.
But see, wasn't 08 or 09 or around the same time the XYZ show was coming out? And that had it.
Yeah.
That had the satire. It was using the puppets.
Yeah.
Of course, they were funded probably internationally.
Yeah,
I don't think they could get sponsors.
Yeah. They're funded. So now I think for Kenyans, having come from that safe mind state, and the safe mind state was also because of the corporates, that the corporate did not want to touch any comedian who was controversial. But now with the internet, I feel like they don't care. So you'll find even other comedians who are not necessarily stand-up comedians but are doing controversial stuff. Then Njugush will still get corporate sponsors. But before, it was like, stay away.
It was surprising to me, because when I first came, I met up with Chipukizi and Fred Amundi and Terrence. And so I started doing shows with them.
Yeah.
And I was like, you guys don't smoke weed?
Oh,
and they're like, no, we have corporates. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you guys are comedians? Like they were so careful about their image completely about, not that I was smoking weed then either, but I was just astonished that how clean they felt that they had to be in order to be successful.
Yeah, it used to be about corporates. Like the internet actually helped. Like even for a stand-up collective, without the internet, people wouldn't know that there's this other sort of comedy happening here. you know?
Yeah, and it's cool. I mean, when people find out that there is such a thing, they're like, there's a room you can go to where you just laugh for 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's a place you can go 3 nights a week. And that's, I don't know if you hang out much that way, but like it feels good to laugh for over an hour. Like you feel regenerated or whatever. I love it.
Yeah, I've always been what is it called? Like a big stand-up comedy.
Who's your
fan.
favorites?
Worldwide or
Well, let's do local and then worldwide.
local? I'd start with my friend. He's called Rapture. But him is grew up in Kenyan ghettos, so strictly Sheng. That's the language that he's comfortable with. After Rapture, I'd go to Dag. Man. Like he find Dag Mutai sets are normally ridiculous. Like shit.
It's so good.
After Dag, where do I go? After Dag, my number 3, I don't know, because I'd have Thai.
Right.
Thai with a Mandip, Kisiangani. Shit, because
Kisiangani is like a
Kisiangani
different thing.
as an MC especially. Like I even saw.
He's fearless.
Yes, I saw. What's his name? Halaiki wrote about
Yeah,
that.
Bashir can carry a show.
Yeah. So Bashir had written the way Kisiangani, like with crowds. Like there's even this one joke that it was in his sets last year. I don't know if he's still doing it, but it was the joke about his fat girlfriend. That shit, like even every time I just think about it,
Yeah, and
I just start
it's
laughing.
something you've watched over and over.
Yeah,
It's always
it's
funny.
Some ridiculous
Kisiangani
shit.
brings big stage energy to a small stage.
Yeah.
Like his movements, his act outs,
So yeah, but I'd say that the whole stand-up collective thing, there's a lot of like ridiculous comedians, and it can only get better. Like
that's the thing, right? It's only going to get better.
Yeah. Like, cause I remember like the funny thing, like the guy I'm talking about, Rapture. Like the first time, if you are to put a gun to my head, I'd say he's the first Kenyan to have a 1-hour special, and this was in 2009. No one had done it. Remember, this is the time of Churchill, the time of what, and he's the guy who was doing offensive comedy. Like where there's one special, his second special. This is still 2009. If you watch the special, you'll see a woman is there, like her jaw dropped. She was like, "What the fuck? You're talking about that on stage in Kenya?
Yeah.
Like this is not supposed to happen." And from that to now see the ties and the what, you're like, yeah, now we're growing. Like now for them, the advantage they have is the language. So now it's a bigger audience. Of course, for him now it's the local audience, but it's still, as the main thing is stand-up comedy is growing, and that to me is.
I heard Doug is trying to like encourage Rapture to hit the stage.
Yeah. Like do his set now. I remember looking at the audience last time, and I was like, this audience is like 50 foreign, 50 local.
Yeah.
So that would be the problem now.
Right.
Checking.
But he could port that skill to English, can't he?
I don't know, man. Like that's the worst thing about Kenya. Like the schools that you went to and the neighborhoods that you grew up in determine so much.
Yeah.
Where yes, you can communicate in English, but like sometimes with a joke, it's how you plan it, how you build it, and how. So the words that you use,
Even your thought process. 'Cause
Yeah.
I might be thinking in Sheng. So in whatever my material will be funny in Sheng.
Yeah.
So trying to maybe find words to replace that. Maybe they'll take some of the
A lot of planning.
the humor.
Right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to be as spontaneous, I suppose.
Yeah. Like even there's this joke he did about. It's in his new stand-up. The joke about it's a masturbation joke, but it's still not like how we say jacking off in Kenya. We say it's like hanging. Like
Choking.
yes.
Yeah, it's
So
choking.
I will not even use choking. I'd use hanging. So it means to choke. It's choke the monkey.
Right.
But the way we use it, it's hung.
It's, by the way, it's spank the monkey. It's choke the chicken.
Oh, choke the
Choke
chicken.
the
Okay.
chicken, spank the monkey.
Oh, choke the cock. Okay, now.
Yeah.
But yeah. So with that, I feel like if he's to turn it to English, it won't make sense.
Right.
Like I hanged it. nah. But nilinyonga, unainyonga,
Yeah.
it's a whole. So I think the language thing, it's very tricky. And also I think with comedy, also the way I've also looked at it is if you have your audience, even if it's small and it's local, you could just stick with that, like do what you're best at.
I mean, I guess the dream for all the local guys though is to travel, I mean, there's not one of these comics who doesn't want to be able to perform in other countries.
Yeah.
It's a shame that Kenya is at a place where it's at where guys can't get their visas easily. It's just it's depressing sometimes to see like how much talent is here.
Yeah.
And then like when guys do get a visa, they leave and never come back. And it's like, man, there's so much to offer here.
Yeah, there's that. I've seen it with musicians. With musicians, I feel like it's more sad than with some random Kenyan who was in a choir and decides,
right,
you know what, I can make it better in this other country. But with musicians, yes, I've seen like huge musicians go and they never come back. And they're like, nah, man, you are too big not to come back, like so there's that. And I also feel like, the shit of the grass is green on the other side. Sometimes it lies to people. Like you don't end up seeing like how much you can. But right now with the internet, I feel like more Kenyans are going and coming back.
Absolutely. I mean, I tell most of them like if you're going to hustle, you might as well hustle here.
Yeah.
Because hustling in America is you're not going to be happier.
Yeah.
I mean, you may be surrounded by fewer potholes or whatever, but that it's not emotionally, it's not worth it. Financially, it's not really worth it. If you have a really killer job and you're going to take a tech job that's like super awesome, and you know that like you can work 9 to 5 and not like work 3 jobs. Sure, do that for a while. But life is better here. In many ways. The last time I talked to a professional Kenyan in America last July, she had a lot to offer to Kenya if she was to move back. A lot. But her thing was like, I can't deal with inefficiency. And that's one thing that we have that.
I remember like also talking to some Kenyan ladies living in America, and they said the same thing. They were like having experienced America. When they come to Kenya and you're told come back on Tuesday, and you come back on Tuesday, and they're like, what? We said come back on Tuesday? And you're used to America where if you're told come back on Tuesday, it's there. Come rain, come shine. So there's that inefficiency. And that's the reason why, I don't know if you heard, there's a governor who went to give birth in America. You have that? So I'm thinking she's an American citizen, but she's a governor here in Nairobi. In Kenya. So she's the Nakuru governor. She's called Susan Kihika. Got pregnant. Since she's an American citizen, went to give birth in America. And I'm there thinking like, fuck you. Like you can't do that. Like you learned there, you got your citizenship there. Come and do some few things that you saw there that you can turn. You're a governor. You have a budget of like tens of billions. You can do something about it. But I think that's the mediocrity that we have also.
This obviously it's going to be really exciting when the generation of corruption finally like dies out. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be incredible here. We were talking about something that I found interesting. We were saying that maybe AI might end up being helping us in the fight against corruption. Because that's interesting, right?
Because they were saying like the issue was, at some point they're saying one of the jobs that's going to disappear is accounting. Accounting will be fully AI. And you see now AI will be able to detect that this person has stolen. This money has gone where it was not supposed to go. So that's going to be
the
interesting.
thing that's in the back of my mind is like, do you ever read science fiction? Like one thing that it's always sort of a mirror of how things happen on Earth or happen in humanity. And there's always this one thing that occurs where suddenly the political class joins with the science class, and it's like physicists are running society. And I always thought, that's interesting. If we ever get to that place where we're not, going after like billionaires or just strictly politicians who are corrupt, who sort of massage people's egos, and political class is now replaced by science, that might be interesting.
It might be interesting.
I mean, we definitely had a religious class run it. We definitely had the upper rich class run it. Why not?
Because personally, like I've always been known as the anti-religion guy. And the reason is I feel like it's done so much damage to Africa. The reason why we have the president that we have is because he cried in church. The minute that he cried, people are like, oh. And then we have this nonsense where leaders are chosen by God. I know in America there are a few people who say that, but it's not like a big chunk of people don't believe that. In Kenya, like you'll find like so many voters actually believe God chose Ruto. And when their kids are disappearing, it's God testing them. You know that shit down there. Like,
it's really hard to watch, right?
Yeah. So that's one of the things there. But now, when as we finish up a stand up, are you planning to do a special?
I'm thinking about it. Like I have one, I think it's called Kwanzaa. It's in my head.
Okay.
And it's just about firsts. Because I do probably have like 45 to an hour of just like fish out of water living in Kenya sort of material. But I've never aspired to doing a special per se.
Okay.
It's never, I probably could do one. A couple guys have talked to me about it.
Yeah.
Because that you saw that material. That's sort of, I'd like to get away from it eventually and not have to keep doing just jokes about me being awkward in Kenya and just talk about relationships and stuff. But I find that the Kenya audiences, for the first couple of minutes, they're looking at me like, who are you? And if I do that vulnerable material about being a stranger in Kenya and they go, okay, he has been here for a while and he's not acting like he's better than us or whatever. Because I'm kind of battling the white thing. I've had hecklers before who are like, where I say us and they're like, us, who are you?
Shit.
And I'm like, come on, it's not, So that's real. So I have to battle that right up front by doing that kind of material. And I'd like to get to the place where I can just do any material.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah. Oh, but that's us. Okay. Shit, makes sense.
Yeah, I'm right. And you see some dude who's just like, because a lot of comedy is complaining or problems. And so that's a weird place for a white guy to start, on stage to strangers. Like, you got problems? Like, you got issues?
But I think by now you have some.
If they've seen me before, yeah. But, that's not how it works. There's plenty of people who haven't. Plenty of people who have not seen me before. So I kind of have to reprove myself every time.
Like I see like Amandip tries to, bring that Mzungu, not Muhindi, unapologetic. Like he says shit about us.
Yeah.
Like Kenyans that they discuss with their, Indian, relatives.
Yeah.
And he gets away with it.
He really does.
I'm sure he gets, some few guys like, no, don't say that around us. But they don't care. But him being that provocative, I think if you attend his, open mic sessions or, we attended his special. You attended his special. So you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm too vulnerable. Like I'm like, I want people to like me. I'm is okay with like 3 minutes of hatred so he can get to a punchline. I can't do 3 minutes of like, who the hell are you? Like I don't do. Sometimes these hot chicks in the front, they're just like, who do you think you are? And I'm like, I can't. Oh, my insides are churning. I'm like, I gotta make you laugh.
Okay. So yeah, man. But thank you. I still feel like that.
Have you watched
Swahili content? The thing that you did, I think it can fly anywhere. I think even it's funnier in Kenya, but I think there's a way to also rephrase it for the American audience to understand how Swahili. Because before you said it, I'd never looked at it. Because this is something that we speak, so I'd never looked at it that we say two things at the same time. Sasa, where it's interesting to hear.
It's funny because every time I do the joke, everyone thinks I'm going to say sawa sawa because that's the only word they think of that they say twice. I'm like, no, there's hundreds.
Yeah,
you say, but did you see the very Kenyan sketch show? Did you watch it?
Yeah,
what do you think?
The one. So I watched last week's episode. This week's episode I've not watched.
Okay.
So I have this thing where my wife, if I watch something alone, she acts like I've cheated.
Oh,
so I have to wait for her.
I've been in relationships like that.
Yeah. So the tea thing was really good. The fact that he used the actual tea. That's shit. It's
chai,
really good.
real chai.
Chai,
Yeah, that was Doug's idea. Just actually have chai.
Yeah, have chai. Yeah.
I saw the one about abductions.
Oh, I haven't
Who was
seen that
playing
one.
the reporter?
Abductions
or with the
this guy Maina. Is it Maina?
Oh, that must have been yesterday's episode, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't finished it yet.
It's quite funny.
It's really funny.
They were trying to pretend that there are no abductions happening, and it's just happening right behind.
Oh, that one with Mina. Was that on the sketch show, or was that his own?
Sure.
That might have been his own.
That's his own.
That might have
Yeah,
been.
it's called sketch.
Or just
Iko
shit.
YouTube. Iko YouTube.
Oh,
Iko
okay.
YouTube.
Okay.
He plays that same character
Yeah.
in the Very Kenyan Sketch Show, but I think that might have been him and Justine Wanda's thing.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was
Because I think I
hilarious.
watched episode 2 is the one with Butita, where Butita thinks Obari has like discovered something about him, and then he ends up confessing to shit that Obari didn't know
did.
about. That was
He ends
some
up
funny shit.
batting himself.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Because Barry slap, eh?
Yeah.
So he's end up batting himself. Slapping himself.
yeah. So that was some shit.
Yeah,
But yeah,
okay.
a very Kenyan sketch show
Yeah.
available on YouTube. That's
Stand-Up Collective,
Yes, that's
YouTube
the
channel.
Yeah. And how can people like find you? On
You can find me. I have a podcast on Spotify called Me I Am Mental, and that's actually on YouTube too. Me I Am Mental. It's mental health stuff for. It's not really for Kenyans, but it is. It's not really for men, but it kind of is because the two of us are both dudes that host it. We have really good guests.
Okay.
Really good guests. And then I have one called the Gluten Worrier podcast. And another Kenyan lady asked me to help host because she's dealing with the fact that people who are gluten intolerant in Kenya, people are like, it's a white guy problem. She's like, no, it's also a problem here. So we talk about eating gluten-free food, where to get it, and just all the topics related to that.
That means to staying away from chapati, yeah?
It does, amongst many other things, yeah, for sure. So but it's a good podcast, I suppose.
So you don't eat chapati? Because that's
never.
one of the most Kenyan meals.
I know, never.
Yeah. Why?
ever,
Because
ever.
gluten would fuck you up, or it's just
Yeah, it would really fuck me up real bad. Yeah.
Okay.
But I also run a charity. It's called Project Hand Up and projecthandup.org. It's where we do behavior change communication only about disease, prevention, health, and child safety. And it's like edutainment, like you said. What'd you say?
You're an education.
Educationist. Yeah, I'm an educationist. We try to make the toughest subjects as fun to watch as possible for kids and families so they can learn really good life and death, like health stuff in a really fun way. We broadcast on Akili Kids. But that's called Project Hand Up. And so you can find us on YouTube there too. That's why I'm here, really. Stand-up is just a hobby.
Okay. Project handsup.org.
Project Hand Up.
Hand up.
Singular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Singular.
Not like hands up, but just like,
okay,
I'll give you a hand up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the way you said it came out as OG. I was like, shit.
org.org.
Yeah.
So you have that Brazilian.
What's happening?
Dude, it's your algorithm. You're even hearing it like that now.
Yeah, but thank you, man. Hiyo imekuwa ni episode 405. Eh?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so imekuwa ni episode 405. Kama kawaida vile susemaga, like, subscribe, hit the notification button. Tupatie hizo likes jo, si ndio?
Yeah.
Tukimalizia tukisema Iko Nini.
Ekonene.
Ikonini.